Hey guys, Chris here. We're just over at Q City Bowman, just doing a quick video on release aids. One of the most asked questions when people start archery is what sort of release aid should I be using? Now, obviously there's two major types, which is your wrist release aids and your handheld release aids. And beyond that, handheld release aids break into two other types, which is the trigger releases and your back tensions. So we're going to be covering that for you today. First of all, wrist release aids. The one I'm using today is the Spot Hogg Wiseguy. It's one of the best release aids in my opinion. Very popular with hunters. People like Cameron Haynes use this. The idea behind this is when you draw back a bow, a lot of the weight is supported by your wrist when you pull back. It's got a little trigger mechanism which you flick on to secure the hook. That clips onto your D-loop. When you pull that back, keep your finger on that trigger and it releases. So the idea behind that is it's got a nice secure wrist. It frees up your hand if you're walking around hunting. You know, you don't actually have to worry about carrying something and fiddling around with something in your pocket. The other thing that makes these releases different and popular amongst hunters is the fact that they're very, very quiet. You can see there's almost no sound except when you click it on a little bit. There's a little bit of a click. Nothing compared to that little click and snap you get on the trigger release aids. So that's your first major type there. They're a great release aid. People say, you know, some people say you can't use these for target archery. I disagree with that. There are a lot of target archers, not the majority, but there are some that use these and shoot very accurately with them. You know, it's not always about the equipment. Okay, on the next up, we got a thumb release aid. I personally use the Carter Chocolate Addiction. Very popular release aid. It's a 3-finger release. So it's just gripped like so. That's your thumb release there. This little lever here clicks on the hook that clips on your D-loop. And as you can see, there is quite a distinctive click. In my opinion, these are probably the easiest release aids to use. They're very comfortable in the hand. The metal, thick, it's not going to cause any finger tension, and it's got a nice barrel which makes it really easy to release. Now the proper way to shoot these is when it's cocked, when you've got it back at full draw, you curve your thumb around the barrel securely and you pull back. You just keep pulling, constantly keep that tension, and it goes off. So a very, very simple release aid to use. A lot of people who aren't familiar with these tend to push down with their thumb too much, and when you've got a bow at full tension and you put down that thumb, you might get a little bit of torquing, a little bit of shock, or what they call punching it, which can throw off your shot just a little bit. But you know, on that note, I mean, there's no reason you can't use these in target archery. I mean, a lot of people do, and they're a really fun release. Carter's my choice. There's plenty of other brands out there that do them, but this is what I use. Okay, a final type of handheld release aid. I shouldn't say final, there actually is a third type out there, but this is what we call a back tension release. Back tension releases are a little bit different. There's no trigger mechanism to let these go at all. With these, the hook actually has a little bit of a angle. I don't know what you'd even call it, but I guess there's actually metal on metal force that causes it not to be able to turn from certain angles. And once you've got it back at full draw, like the other one, instead of curving your thumb around, you'd actually take your thumb off and pull back slowly. That pivoting motion is what sets off the angle and allows it to release. Now, with the other type of back tension release aid, it's actually based on poundage. So, for example, if you had your bow set at 60 pounds, you'd set the other release at about 70 pounds, so you'd get to your full draw, then you'd keep pulling until that extra 10 pounds of pressure causes it to release. Not the easiest to learn how to use. You got to be very careful with it. There have been a lot of range accidents where, you know, people have pulled back too fast using too much pounds of pressure, and it's just gone off early, or you know, there might be issues where someone's actually resetting their finger, using their finger to reset arrows, and while they're doing that, they've accidentally pulled too hard, and you know, they've shot their fingers, shot their hands. You know, not good. not good. But just quite simply showing you this mechanism. So you draw back at an angle, and as you sort of pivot it, you hear a click. That means it's about to reach its maximum pivot, I guess, and it goes off. So you keep pulling, bang. There you go. Now we're going to shoot a few targets and just show you how these work. Hey guys, we're going to be showing you the 3 different release aids in practical action right now. I'll be shooting it through my 2015 Bowtech Prodigy. I got it equipped with the Spot Hogg father sight, really nice sight. Trying out the 2015 Trophy Taker Smackdown in camo and a Trophy Ridge 9-inch stabilizer, which I've been using on a lot of my different bows, and you know, I really like it. It's got a good amount of weight, great stabilizer for hunting. And I'll be shooting the Carbon Express Maxima Reds. Really advanced arrow. Flexes at both ends, very rigid in the center. So first up, we'll be using the Hunter's release, the wrist release. There's 2 ways of drawing this, and I'll show you both. There's the safer way, which is to keep your finger behind the trigger at all times, just to give it that opposing force, make sure nothing happens, because it is a very light release. So bow at full draw. Get to your anchor point. With these releases, I use a little kisser. Helps me find that anchor point just a little bit easier. And I anchor my hand under my ear. Now I move my finger to the front. Release. The second way of drawing these releases is a little bit more target oriented. If you want to prevent as much movement as possible while you're trying to hold your sights, what you do is place your index finger across the top of it and keep it pointed towards the target. That way there's only one motion to get to the trigger. Hey guys, how you doing? We'll be doing the thumb release aid next. This is the Carter Chocolate Edition 3-finger. As I mentioned before, they come in a whole variety of shapes and sizes. You can get it to do whatever you want. So very simply, clicks onto the D-loop. It's now secure until you punch that release. As I said before, these are by far the most comfortable to pull back. Get your solid anchor point. Move your thumb around to wrap around. And just keep pulling, Really nice release aid. Really nice release. If you use them wrong, you can't see how it goes a little astray. This is without the pulling motion, shooting it what I'd call incorrectly. So I'm moving my thumb around, and I'm actually pressing it. And straight away I can feel that hand shock, because I'm using more force in my left arm to actually push the bow forward than I am to pull back with this. Hey guys, last release, the back tension. This is also by Carter. It's called the Atension or Attention, whichever one you want to call it. But yeah, look, I don't make up these names. A little bit tricky because it's a bit counterintuitive, the angle you're pulling it back at. These can be adjusted. I haven't adjusted this one. This one's factory standard. So as you can see, the locking position actually forces my hand to be forward or curved into my left. A little bit counterintuitive, but that's just the way it is. So we pull it back. Got to be careful with these releases that you don't sort of move your hand around too much. Now that's thumb off the trigger, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. There's the click. It's about to release. And that is how you use the back tension. Now, I'm going to show you how just a little bit of hand direction can actually cause these to fire off early. Disclaimer, don't try this at home. Now, my natural pulling position is with my fist face straight forward. So this pulling it back, pulling it back, pulling it back. Didn't even get to full draw. So now you know. In my opinion, the best release to start with if you're going to be doing target archery is a thumb release aid like the Carter or like your True Balls or any of those. I started out with a True Ball, great release aid. Carters, if you're taking archery serious and you want to spend a few more dollars, those are around at about 250, 270 Australian dollars. I'm not too sure what they go for in the US. But they're a great release aid, durable, they'll last you for ages. If hunting's your speciality, you can't go past one of the Spot Hoggs.